Okay, let's see. Please review cap rates and why we buy at a high rate and sell at a low rate. You know, that is a little tough to grasp when you're brand new at it, isn't it? Let me see if I can explain that a little easier. In real estate, you want to buy low and sell high, right? Isn't that right? Okay. The only reason you want to buy at a high cap rate is because you know you're buying it cheaper than what it's worth. The cap rate is just a measuring stick to know you're buying it cheap. Because a high cap rate means you're buying it, getting a 12% return on your money, assuming you paid all cash for it, knowing you can sell it to people who only want a 7% return on their money. Does that make any sense? If you buy a note at a 12% return and sell it at a 7% return, do you get a big spread? I don't think that worked. With income producing property, as you increase the net operating income, you increase the value. When you buy it at a high cap rate, you know you can increase the net operating income and increase the value. In other words, even if you can increase the net operating income, in fact, let's say you don't. If you buy it at a 12 cap and you know you can sell it at a 7 cap, if you don't increase anything, you automatically got instant profit. You know what? Just play with it. It'll come to you. It'll come to you when you actually start computing those numbers. And if I buy a mortgage at a 12% yield, and I know somebody who's only looking for a 7% yield, I get to sell the mortgage for more than what I bought it for. This is one reason why you guys ought to get your butt in paper power so you can learn that financial calculator thing you're toting around that you don't know how to use. By the way, that thing does more than add and subtract. And multiply and divide, just for the record. In fact, when you start learning how to use that financial calculator and start playing some games with future value money, compared to present value money, and you're going to throw up. Because now, finally, you're financially literate to the point that you really understand the time value of money. If you locate the deal by yourself, how important is it to have a broker representing you as the buyer? Well, if there's a broker involved in the deal, we're getting to that anyway. It would be crazy not to, unless you're dealing directly with that broker. Hey, they're free because the buyer's broker is paid out of the seller's commission. Anytime you can get free help, get free help. What is a 50% partner? That would be where a partner gets half. Says, I know we students put up the earnest money deposit, but doesn't mean you guide us through the process and secure the hard money and help with the refi. Well, of course not. Why would I want to do all that? You give me 50% of the deal, you do all the work, you get all the money, I do nothing. What's wrong with that? I'm going to go over the rules, I'm going to go over exactly how it works, and I'm going to let you meet some of the team that's involved in it, get that nailed clearly, so you can quickly decide whether you want to work with me or not. So far, we have located prospects, which some of you quickly learned that this LoopNet thing is a pretty decent thing to do. And I hope you learned if you decide to get off your butt and do something about it. I mean, it's just not that hard to find these deals, especially if you're using multimedia to do it. And LoopNet's just one. And don't forget all those other websites. And don't forget the auction sites. I know Jill's working on some sealed bid deals, which are great. You keep turning in bids on sealed bids, you're going to get one pretty soon, no doubt in my mind. We're going to do that nursing home that she's talking about. Now I find out, and get this, it's a $25,000 deposit now to make the offer. And then it's another $75,000 deposit once it's accepted, and none of this is refundable. Now, what to do? Well, first of all, she's going to put up the 25, but then what happens when it gets accepted? Should she have a clear idea where the 75 is coming from? And if she doesn't, she shouldn't put up the 25, because if she puts up the 25 and she don't come up with a 75, she's going to lose the 25. And then if we come up with the 75 and we don't close, we're going to lose it all. Does everybody understand that? This is not one of those due diligence periods. This is one of those exceptions where you got to play the game. And if you don't have enough hair to play the game, you better not play this game. I read in the contract on the Amoco building last night, and there's a few things that Rock forgot to mention to me. Get this one. $175,000 deposit. $125,000 of it is non-refundable under any circumstances, clearly spelled out in the contract. If they have bad title on the property, they're going to fight not to give me back the $125,000. I got 60 days due diligence, all right, where 50 of the 175 is refundable, but not the 125. And in addition to that, there's just a mere $300,000 more due at the end of the due diligence period that Rock forgot to mention to me as well. See, now this is not the relationship you want with me. I can tell you that right now. And believe me, he will be told that today. Now, it's a big deal, isn't it? It's a big building. But are we at a different level of risk here? You bet. Of course, what's the most we could lose? Now, the most we could lose is $475,000. Or what's this wee crap? Yeah. What's the most I could lose? It's $475,000. Now, of course, you can rest assured if I lose it, it's coming out of the other deals that I'm working with Rock as well. So I'm not worried about me holding the whole bag myself. But that's a big game to play in, guys. Because what if we get it to the end of the due diligence period, and we release the due diligence, and I send the other $300,000, and then we don't get it funded within 30 days thereafter? There's $500,000 right down the crapper. Gone. Like I said, you got to run with the big dogs and pee in the tall grass. You got to get off the porch. So this game ain't for everybody, is it? What's the upside? I don't know. Pay $32 million for a building. Supposedly it's worth. How much is supposed to be worth? I don't remember, because I don't believe half of the crap anyway I hear. So I don't know. I don't even remember the number. To me, it's all fake money anyway until it becomes reality. But whatever it is, it's a big gain in it. So who plays and who don't? The thinker brains can't imagine the thinker brains committing to a deal like this. Just can't imagine it. With that much at risk. And boy, are there a lot of things that can go wrong. Oh, sure. I mean, I would have not agreed to that contract. I would not have. I would have fixed a few things in there. Frankly, if they wouldn't have fixed them, I'd have said, look, this is not reasonable. We're not your player. And frankly, I still may do that. I still may do that. I got to make that decision. Anyway, go ahead.
We had someone who brought us the sealed auction, and I talked to him last night, and he just wants a referral fee. So based on the fact that we get this property, what would you think that would be?
Oh, I don't know. I don't know that, Jill. Don't ask me that.
So there's like no formula or anything for that?
No.
Okay.
No formula for that. It's whatever we think we want to pay and whatever the deal's worth. And frankly, I wouldn't even know that number until I did a little more due diligence, find out what the heck we are going to get out of this thing or what we are planning to get out of it. By the way, guys, does anybody believe you're ever going to get out of a deal what you think you're going to get out of it? All right, we're clear on that, right?
Yes.
Okay. Yes.
I was reading about phase one. It stated that there was no soil borings until phase two. Can you kind of go over phase one when they decide to do the soil borings and go to phase two?
I don't even know what they do in a phase one.
That's basically
all I know is they write up a report
question.
And ensure me that there's no environmental poisoning on the property. I would have to talk to anybody know? Yeah. Who knows?
Ron, on a phase one, they will investigate, and in the summary of phase one, they will indicate whether there's further testing recommended.
Okay, so what do they do in a phase one?
Well, what they do is they take and get all the public records that are available. about that site and anything around it, and they'll determine whether there's any poisons or hazards or toxics or whatever that they suspect. And if there's any suspicions, then they will recommend the phase 2, whereas in the phase 2 is what they do is they bore or they take samples, they send them to the lab, they analyze them, and then after they got the analysis back, then they will say, here's what you've got. And then after that, if it's serious enough, then they will have to do a remediation plan. And that gets into big money.
That'll kill your deal, yeah. So would you suggest we get a phase 2? Phase 2 is pretty expensive. What's an average phase 2 cost?
It depends on what they got to do and how many samples that they've got to bore.
Yeah, I guess so.
If I could just add something to that.
Please do.
When you're getting your phase 1, you should look closely at what they're proposing to do for you, both if that firm carries liability insurance, proper professional errors and omissions insurance, and also some phase 1s. Principally, a phase 1 is generally, as you mentioned, it's a public records exam screening against known sources of contaminants from industrial activity or neighboring industrial practices against what they know will cause soil problems. Some phase 1s will also include an on-site surface visit where a technician will actually come around. And that's actually quite valuable because you may have no known historical industrial sources, but a trained environmental engineer doing a phase 1, just with a quick scan around your property, can see a lot of problems that you may not know what you're looking for. And that will be included in some phase 1s. And that's a better phase 1 than just a simple public records exam.
So we would want a phase 1 property inspection
if you
to be
can,
part of the phase
if they
1.
will put that in there and you're looking at 2, the best insurance policy is a big kicker, and then if one includes a site visit, that's better than one that doesn't. And on the subject of what a phase 2 can cost, I oversaw phase 2 in a dockyard rehabilitation project. The phase 2 bid package cost the engineering companies approximately $100,000 just to bid to get the work, and you want to bet that it cost to actually do the work a lot more than that. The actual end bid on the consulting phase of that project was over $875,000 for the soil testing and exam screening of the site, and the end remediation cost was almost $27 million.
That's when we had a problem, though, that we're trying to fix, isn't it?
That was a known problem
You're
site.
scaring everybody. Now what's it going to cost to get a phase 2 test done when no apparent problems are there, and we're just making sure?
Well, we did a phase 2 on another project that was just a relatively normal site, and it was about $15,000 because there was basically a few days of backhoe work. They did some test pits, a drill core sample where they look in a problematic area. They analyze the soils there.
I was going to say $8,000 to $15,000, so I'd be in the ballpark, wouldn't I? Okay.
The one thing that he mentioned about is in the phase 1, most of the time, if it's a lender, for example, they're going to want to have a site visit to the site, and they walk the site. I had a particular piece of property where the guys went out. It was only a couple of acres, but they wanted, the bank they was going to do the financing, and the prior use was just it was a farm. Well, it wasn't really a farm. It was just a gentleman farmer, but they had tractors and they had diesel fuels and oil that they'd spilled on the ground or dumped on the ground after changing the tractor. And by walking the site, the environmental engineer saw that there was some staining of the soil, and he raised a red flag in the phase 1. Okay, so that's where...
You guys think it would be a good idea to build into our contracts that if a phase 1 study indicates that we have any kind of problems at all, that it would be the seller's responsibility to get a phase 2 done? I think it's a good idea, actually. It's their property. In fact, it's such a good idea, I'm writing it down. Thank you, guys. That little discussion might save me a few $1 million in the next coming months. Who knows? I should be paying you guys for this boot camp. Let me make a note. Okay, let's get into exit strategies. Page 115. You should never construct an offer on a project unless you know how to get it financed and what your potential exit strategy or strategies, plural, are. Do I always like to have more than one exit strategy? Yes, I do. I really do. And it just makes me feel better when I know there's more than one way out of this thing in case the first way doesn't work out. And, I've been around so long and taken so many blows, I don't believe anything is real till I see it. I don't believe anything is going to work like it's supposed to. I assume it isn't, and I prepare for it. It's really that simple. I don't believe anybody's going to loan me money till I get the check. I don't believe anybody's going to sell me a property till I get the contract. I don't believe anybody's bid to fix it till it's done. I don't believe anybody's value of what it's worth till it's sold. How does that make you feel when you send me stuff as my partner? I don't believe anything you tell me until I get it verified. I assume that you're close, but I just don't buy it till I see it. And you shouldn't either. You shouldn't either. You got to quit taking things at face value and let people lead you around because they're good salesmen or women selling you on what they think because it's in their best interest to get you to believe that. You shouldn't believe anything. You should look at everything with a grain of salt until you verify it. Somebody comes at me with a high-end home, house worth $8 million. Well, great. Well, they're only asking $6 million. Well, immediately, what do you think I think? Now, house is worth $6 million. They have an appraisal for $8 million, which is worthless. But the house is worth $6 million. They know it's worth $6 million. That's why they're asking $6 million. Okay, if I'm wrong, prove it. Prove it. And the only proof I'm going to accept is 2 appraisals that I send to the home. I don't even want to look at an appraisal submitted to me by a seller. It's bogus as far as I'm concerned. I don't even want to see it because it's absolutely worthless. I want to send my appraisers out there and I want to see if 2 of them agree somewhere close on the value. And if they don't, I've got a problem. And even then, if I get 2 appraisals back and they're both up there where I was represented they should be or in that area, I still don't believe it until somebody buys it. And if you're going to do a high-end homes like that, you better darn sure be prepared to give away a lot of that equity. Because your chances of selling an $8 million home for $8 million are about as good as me getting dark-haired and skinny. Either one of them would be a facade. Just got to take it with a grain of salt. And you got to build in plenty of equity in case things go wrong. And we've been talking about these deals here. What's the sellout value? Well, great, but we haven't discussed all the expenses along the way, have we? The sellout value is great. It better be a great big difference between that and what we got in it because we got to allow for all those expenses. And we got to allow for in case the sellout value ain't there that we think is there, don't we? Called a hedge factor. Yeah. I want to make sure that if I get expensed way more than I thought I was going to get expensed, that I still got a lot of money left over. Just like buying houses. You buy them cheap enough, you can screw up everything and still make a nice profit. You pay too much, you can do everything perfect and wish you didn't own this house. So, low-hanging fruit. So my exit strategies should be structured such that I can take the worst-case scenario and still make money. Offer to buy hinges on the exit. I always want to know what I'm going to do if I get it bought, and then the offer is structured on that conclusion, and the financing is also structured to help me get to that goal. Here's some exit strategies right down at the bottom of page 115. Frankly, this is it. This is your checklist to get out. This is all there is. I can always wholesale it. Can you wholesale commercial properties just like you do houses? Yeah, it takes a little longer. May take a little longer to find a buyer, may take a little longer to get it closed, but absolutely. It's done all day, every day. It's done all over the place. It's done on huge parcels. It's done on multi-million-dollar buildings. It's done on land everywhere in the United States. And by the way, would we settle for a $5,000 profit on one of those deals? No. In fact, we're working on a deal right now that we want to wholesale on a hotel. And I mean, if it works out, 50-50 chance at best, and probably not even that good. But it worked, there's several $1 million in it. We know of a project. We turned it over to a realtor who has a buyer that wants to buy hotels, and it's a huge project. And if they buy it, we'll get some money out of it. That's about. I'm not going to wait on it. Your exit strategy is to purchase it so that you can sell it as is, but take the pressure off. Number 2. In fact, you'll find that a common exit strategy with deals we do, guys. It's just like houses. I can buy them and wholesale them, or I can buy them and retail them. Now, it won't take long for you to figure out that retailing or developing or converting is a long, costly, drawn out, costly, entanglement-laden process no matter what kind of property we're working on. It is not easy, and it is not quick, and things can go wrong along the way. So you keep pushing forward to get that big payday. On the other hand, is that the only way to get out of a property? You take any of these properties that we're buying up here. Take this nursing home that Jill's buying. What are we offering? $750? Okay. If we get that thing bought for $750 and funded and closed, who says we got to go worry about putting a nursing home in it? Couldn't we just as easily put it on the market after we find out what it's worth? Let's say we find out it's worth $4 million. Couldn't we just put it on the market and blow it out at a bargain fire sale at $2.5 million? Huh? Besides, is there probably any more costly, entanglement-laden property to work on than a nursing home where people die in it? I mean, I tell you what, if I ever run something like that, I'm running it way hands off. I don't want... You know what I keep saying, though? When I check into the nursing home, I want to own it free and clear.
Mine is pretty. You don't want one in Michigan. You don't want one in
Maybe this is my chance, huh, Jill?
I'll get you a suite.
Huh? Well, when I check in the nursing home, it won't matter where I'm at, will it? But no, guys, keep that in mind. When you go into a contract, you should prepare to close on the deal. It really, really gets scary and shaky if you put it under contract with the intentions of wholesaling it, knowing you can't close on it. Not only does it get shaky, you blow one, and there goes your reputation. Shot. So you got to prepare to close on it. And then when you close on it, you're free to do any darn thing you want to do. It's just like Rocker and I are doing all this property we got around here. I mean, we got plans. You've seen them. We got plans to develop them. We've got plans on all of them. We've got plans working. I mean, it's working, moving forward. Always with the fact in mind that somebody's going to come along and swoop this property up and throw a big check down on the table, and we're just going to have to let them take it. You've got to do what you got to do. Also knowing that if we move the development plans forward, it also makes the property more valuable as we move forward. I mean, it costs very little to move forward. You just move forward. Enticing the marketplace to come buy the property. Do you know that action creates action? You can have a property lay out there for 5 years, just lay there dead. And the minute somebody starts working on it, I mean, the Beatles just come out of the woodwork. In fact, I can assure you the property that we have here in Dallas, it's sat there for years and years and years. And now all of a sudden, we come in and buy it. Now termites just crawl at us from everywhere. Hey, now we see somebody actually taking action. Now we want to follow. Yes.
Ron, could you give us an idea, just ballpark, what it costs to draw up one of those development plans? I know every project's different, but are we talking...
Up. You mean
to have the engineer
plan?
And the architect?
Meaning pretty pictures?
Yeah.
Oh, a few bucks. In fact, some of them will do it for free if they believe that they're going to be the back-end engineers. Some of them want a little bit of operating capital, a few thousand max. Yeah. Now, of course, some of them will want a big $25,000 deposit. What do you do with those? Yeah. So, just like some of these auctioneers think they're entitled to that entire 10% commission that they get on it. It's all negotiable. Fix the problem, then refinance with non-recourse loan if possible. Isn't that what we fully intend to do with all of these projects that have a turnaround, like these apartment complexes and these office buildings and these income-producing properties, or even these developments, or even a building in Florida that we're buying? We tend to fix the problem, which means put tenants in it, because there's nothing wrong with buildings, and then go refinance it. We intend to do that. Now, somehow I got this feeling that if somebody wants to come along and buy that property and make David and Nathan filthy, stinking rich, we're going to have a board meeting over dinner somewhere, and they're going to have to think about it for a while, make a decision. You know, we're paying $3 million for a property. It's worth $11 million. If somebody wants to come in and steal it from us for $10 million, what do we do, guys? I'm almost afraid to ask this. David and Nathan, are you in the room?
Some partners, they're no-shows. They're just no-shows. They're in Florida time.
I'm beginning to wonder.
I tell you.
Okay, number 4. Fix the problem and sell so you don't need to refinance. In other words, there's always this thing called quick turn real estate. Get in and get out. Now, is that probably your best exit strategy or not your best exit strategy?
Maybe not most lucrative.
Huh? What's the downside of that, guys?
You give up a lot of income.
There's 2, really. Well, no, you fix it and then resell it. That's the fastest way probably to get the most money you're going to get out of it. But what's the problem with it? Number 1, you kill the goose.
Right.
You kill the goose that's laying the golden eggs. You kill the appreciation. You kill the cash flow. You kill any future value at all. And number 2, you're going to get whacked with taxes. I mean, you know, I don't care what income tax bracket you're in. You do one of these deals we've been talking about, you're in the 35% bracket all of a sudden, instantly, overnight. And that don't include state income tax where you happen to live. That's a lot of money to give away. Or if you just may be a little bit patient, or if you do a 1031 exchange, or if you do it in your IRA, or if you just don't sell it, period, you're not going to give away that money. I mean, you guys got to make all those decisions, but that is one of your exit strategies. And I wouldn't be surprised if that isn't one you're going to take from time to time, because you get an opportunity to sell it and make a killing on it. You know what? Even if you did that and you paid the taxes on it, is that all bad? Because what does that now become? It becomes your launching pad to bigger and better things. It becomes the property. In fact, I think of Scott Shield. It becomes your first property that you can leverage into doing other cool stuff and sleep at night because you got a bunch of money in the bank. It becomes the property that not only raises your expectations, but raises your self-confidence through the roof. It becomes the deal that you get to brag about and attract other people to you that wish they were as smart as you are. I won't tell them any different. It truly is the turning point in your whole career. So who cares? Pay the government. They need the money. And you need the deal and you need the capital in the bank. Once you pay the tax, good news, you get to keep some of it. Get a new temp to perm development loan to do construction or development to provide the capital so you can finish the project and then sell or keep some of both. Some of both is a key word there. Many of these projects you get to sell part and keep part, don't you? In fact, would it be a smart idea for you to take these big tracts of land and wind up owning a lot of it free and clear after you sold off the rest and made a killing on it? In fact, it'd be kind of stupid not to, wouldn't it? Huh? So you sell out part of it, you make a huge profit, and then you just sit there and wait until they start building all this stuff up on it and triple the value of the land you kept. It's actually a very common thing to do. It's very common for builders to do that. What I mean by temp to perm is, if in fact you can handle the skin in the game requirement, you literally can get good loans from good lenders, low rates, and get the money to buy and fix the job at the same time. That's the normal thing for builders and developers to do, as long as the skin is taken care of. And frankly, remember what I said, if you happen to already own property, you probably already got the skin taken care of, or if you team up with somebody who does. couple of you in the room here own property now and you want to do something with it. I'm happy. Those are easy for us to do because we got the skin fixed. Now all we got to do is go borrow the money to get the job done. And you can borrow the money to get the job done when the skin's already in there, just as easy as you can borrow it if you're writing a check for the skin. The lenders don't care. They want to know that somebody's got something at risk and that their loan-to-value ratios meet their needs. That's a simple marriage, actually. We're working on a couple of those. I think we told you about them. I think I told you about the attorney from Nashville that we're working with to build a bunch of condos. Did I mention that or not?
No.
Attorney brings us a couple acres in Nashville. Approved for 180 condos. Well, great. He'll donate the land. We'll get the loan to do the building. He'll get a piece. Now, incidentally, in that situation like that, does the person donating the land, is he or she entitled to 50% of the profit because they happen to have the land? Well, think about it just for a minute. What percentage of the land is the whole deal? It's your ain't 50. Why should somebody with a piece of land be entitled to 50% of the profit donating 15% of the deal? Well, now, if you're a landowner, you could easily get it in your head, well, geez, I'm entitled to 50%. I got the land. Yeah, but unfortunately, the buildings cost much more than the land, and somebody's got to go out there and get all that money, and, that's just not a fair split, unless, of course, the landowner is going to be further involved in the deal than just chipping in the land. Well, this guy, this 80-year-old attorney was clear on that from the very beginning. All the landowner does is put the land in the entity. The rest of this deal still got to be done. Somebody's got to do a massive amount of work. Somebody's got to go get a massive amount of money. And then somebody's got to manage the thing after it's fixed or sell it or whatever the plan is. That all gets worked out. But if you look at it on a percentage basis, usually when I team up with somebody, if all they're going to do is chunk in the land, they get whatever percentage of the whole that becomes, which to me is a fair thing. Is that any different than chipping in cash to a deal? When you chip in cash to a deal, it's all pro rata distributed. So, anyway, sell off part of the asset or pay for the whole to pay for the whole. We've had several deals we could do that, haven't we? And in fact, most of the deals we've had, we could do that, with the exception of apartment complexes with no excess lands and so forth. And actually, you could even do that with apartment complex. How? Convert part of it to condos, which could easily pay for the rest of it. And now you got free and clear apartments sitting there chunking out cash. You better write that one down. That's a good one. You buy an apartment complex. You turn part of it into condos. It really works well if the apartment complex has got more than one building and you're even working out of different buildings. But it'll even work with one building. It'll work. You can turn 1 or 2 or 3 floors into condos. It's common, actually, isn't it?
But don't you need city approval on that?
Of course, you need city approval on everything. You need city approval to go to the bathroom. We're assuming we're going to get city approval, but we're going to know that before we close on it, aren't we? But we can convert part of it into condos, sell off the condos, keep the rest of the building, and the condos pay for the building. What a wealth building tool. Not only are you building wealth, but what about cash flow? Oh my goodness gracious. Now do that on a 500 unit project. Convert 100 units. Easily pay for the project. Should easily pay for the rest of the project. Geez, I'll write that one down too. That was pretty good, wasn't it? Write that one down, yeah. That's a writer-downer. All right. Ron's rules to ponder before selling. I'm afraid that I have infected you with the quick turn disease. I am guilty on purpose and proud of it. But from the very beginning, I've told you, if your cash flow sucks and you need money like you need oxygen, you sell and you get paid and don't worry about creating wealth till you can take care of your cash flow needs today. And I also told you that I'm a true living, breathing example that the true wealth is in the equity, not in the cash flow. But what do we need today to get to the equity tomorrow? Cash flow. Okay. Many of you have long since got your cash flow needs taken care of. It may not be in your best interest to sell everything you get your hands on now for a lot of reasons. A lot of taxes, kill golden goose, no future growth, yada, yada, yada. So I want you to think very carefully when you get ready to sell a property, whether that is in your best interest or not. And only you can answer that. Nobody can answer it for you, incidentally. Your accountant can't even give you that answer. Because when you leave his or her office, they have no future responsibility based on their opinion. You're the one that does. And, well, I just created a list here. First one, if you're going to sell, is the property ready to sell? Just like a house. You try to sell a house that's in so-so condition and you get so-so response. It sits out there and it drags on forever. You got to have a very special buyer who's probably not all that qualified to be attracted to it because they got so much other stuff they can pick from. And you wind up it costing you a lot more in lost revenue and holding costs than it would if you just got the thing jam up ready to go to begin with. Well, the same thing holds true with commercial property. You know, if I truly want to put an apartment complex on the market, I'll tell you right now, I'm going to spend a lot of money on landscaping. I want it to be gorgeous. I want the landscaping to be extraordinary, not ordinary. You know, I want it to be beautiful. I want it to be attractive. And signage. I'm going to have a nice sign out there. I'm going to make it look like a class act, even if it's a low-income apartment project. Is the appearance correct? Is it where it should be? Have you done all you could do to raise the value, which we're coming to? Number two, have you got professional help to determine the current market value? I can't imagine why somebody would put a multi-million-dollar project on the market on a wing and a prayer by checking a few comps, convincing themselves of what it's worth. There's so much money at stake. An appraisal costs $3,000 or $4,000, and yet I consistently see, well, you've seen it. How many properties have we looked at during this class where the sellers obviously don't have a clue what the value is? Do you want to be one of them? Well, maybe you will or maybe you won't sell it for retail price, but shouldn't you know what retail price is? I mean, you are the financially literate group. You're not the wandering nomads out there looking for somebody to lead them around by the nose. It's your responsibility to know what the value of something is you're selling. And yet I can assure you that many people would do some half-assed comp work, throw it on the market, rather than expending a few dollars to get an appraisal to verify that their assumptions are correct. And in fact, what a great tool to sell with. You see, if I were doing a sealed bid auction, I not only would have a phase one in there, but I'd have an appraisal in there, assuming that my experience taught me that sealed bid auctions bring way below market value. Now, if I was in a market where sealed bid auctions were bringing more than market value, I wouldn't want an appraisal in there, would I? No. Yeah, it'd be detrimental. But somehow I get the feeling that Michigan ain't one of those places. So if I think I'm going to get way below market value, then I want something in there to substantiate the market value. Now, if I'm having this auction in Vegas, I might not do that. I might let the market decide what the value is. In fact, got to let Kirk weigh in on this one because he deals with this all the time. In fact, Kirk, why don't you come on up here and take a mic because I'm going to be picking on you here. I'm going to also let Kirk teach you guys today how to sell. This guy's an auction man. He's a great auction guy, and he can help you get market value out of your properties even at auctions. And I'm going to, when I get around to it, but not right this second, when I get around to it, I want him to tell you his beautiful plan for auctioning off lots in a subdivision and getting more than retail price for them and having them done, gone, just like that. I want your opinion on this. What would you do? I got a sealed bid auction. I'm in Michigan. I'm selling it. Do I include? She's got a phase one in the package, which is good, isn't it? Yes. That is a smart seller. Yes. I mean, you know, this deposit is non-refundable. Isn't that what I'd worry about? Yes. Yeah, I got phase one right in the package. And you know what? I'd have a letter in there from someone saying that the thing is clear, so I don't have to read the phase one. Remember, simple, 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 simple. And then I'd have anything else in there that bothered. I'd probably have a building inspection in there as well. Whatever it is, I'd have it in the package to make it easy for them to give up that $100,000 and not worry about they have to go do more due diligence. So just for the record, would you include an appraisal in a package like that or not? And if you're having an auction, is it good or bad to put the appraisal in the envelope they get when they give you the deposit?
I think that depends on the project. If you've got like you were saying, a project where you think is going to struggle to get to the right number, you need to have that stuff in there. One of the things that when you go to an auction, we've got to create an environment where people aren't afraid. You've got to take away fear. The more fear that's gone, the higher the price is, the safer they feel. And we've got to do everything we can to make them not afraid. Phase ones, termites, I give up. Snail inspections, whatever the deal is, so that when they get that packet and they look at that project, they know that all that stuff that they're worried about, they don't have to. The title's going to be good. Here's a title report. Just everything so that they know and they can feel safe. And we've taken away that fear, because every time you get afraid, the dollars go down.
Well,
right.
Title, their contract will say they got to deliver a good title anyway, so I'm not worried about putting that in there, as long as they know that's part of the deal, and he's going to make that clear when he stands on the stage. They probably made that clear in the directions there. And but I'll tell you, in my opinion, most cases the appraisal needs to go in there, and of course that's the highest appraisal you can get your hands on, isn't it? It needs to go in there at least. Now you don't put an MAI appraisal in there this thick, but you put the first 2 or 3 pages in there of it so they can see that this is what it appraised at and the date it was appraised and so forth. This is what we think it's worth. Okay, well, I would want to substantiate that with evidence.
The problem that you run into sometimes if you put an appraisal in there, a lot of times people think that's the minimum bid. That's the number that it's got to bring, and you can run off buyers.
This is why I would absolutely put a disclaimer and do so. Every time I've ever had an auction, I put a cover sheet in there. We've attached boom, kada-boom, kada-boom, kada-boom. This is a recent appraisal. However, the bidding process today will determine the market value of the property. This is in there for your review only. Yada, yada, yada.
Exactly.
Yeah. And in fact, there's a lot of things in an appraisal that they would want to see anyway. There's a lot of information that the appraisers went out and accumulated. Have you examined the tax consequences? How come people forget to do that before they go selling property? Yeah, well, I'm going to make $1 million. You're going to make $650. IRS is going to make $350. It's a partnership deal. Assessed value, yeah. That's
3.5.
Oh, so it's assessed for 3.5. That's a good thing, Jill.
I know. I just realized that.
Which means absolutely nothing to me, but it's a good thing. All right. Do you really need to sell, or is it just a bad habit? And now I want you to ask yourself, why am I selling this? Could I go refinance this, possibly with a non-recourse loan, and get the same result as selling it and not have to pay the taxes and not kill the golden goose? And should I? And you know what the answer is usually going to be, don't you? Yeah. Why are you selling? Are you sure it's the best thing for you to do? And have you looked at what you'll gain compared to what you'll lose? And are you killing the golden goose? Have you pre-screened and found the right agent, which we're going to discuss here? Have you prepared the proper package of information so the agent can skim the early cream from the market? And that's a good point. The minute that property hits the market is when it's the hottest and when most of the best prospects are going to be looking at it, and you should be prepared to capture somebody quickly if they're there. If you go out with a half-prepared package, if you go out not quite ready, you've killed that cream, because they'll be gone. You don't get another shot at them. Same with a house. When you go out, it should be ready to go. And it's your responsibility to get the package that you need to get it sold. You shouldn't put it on the market until you've got a complete package ready to go, so that a buyer can look at it in simplistic terms and see what they need to see to determine whether they want to buy it or not. Put yourself in the buyer's position. What are you going to ask? And answer all of those questions right up front. Put it in writing so they can make a decision quickly, and put it in third grade language so that a moron could read it. Never overestimate the intelligence of your audience. Yes?
It's a two-part question, actually. If you know that a property which is currently in manufacturing use is going to be shut down, but it's not going to be shut down supposedly for 2 years. When you said about being when it's first known, it's when it's hottest. Can you, I know people go through and show properties like that. Is that a good idea? And if the property, the second part is if the property has been known to have caused an environmental problem.
Wow. You're really laying a tough one here, aren't you?
Sorry. But
I don't need to know anymore.
Okay.
My recommendation is you stay clear of that one.
Okay.
Big time.
Okay, thank you.
That's an animal that you're not prepared to handle.
Okay.
And I can't imagine anybody buying that facility unless they want to own or occupy it.
Okay.
You get two huge problems there.
Big.
You're about to get a great big old vacant building of which the sellers probably don't have a clue of what's going to do to the diminishment of the value of it when it's vacant, and want to sell it now hoping for the greater fool, and then an impossible environmental problem on top of that? No way.
Okay, good. Thank you.
No way. Okay. I'm going to suggest to you how you go about selling commercial properties. It's really quite simple. Get the heck out of the way and let the professionals do it for you. Now, for some of you, that's going to be a giant leap, isn't it? But think all that commission I could save. Well, I could probably sell it myself. Well, you might as well be over there repairing it yourself, too. Make sure you get yourself a pickup truck. Get you one of them cards at the Home Depot so you can charge a lot of stuff. And send your crew down there, and you meet them over there. Put on your uniform and help them paint it up and clean it up, because obviously they can't do it near as good without you. And then when it comes time to sell, certainly you should take on that responsibility all by yourself so you can save a few shillings. Now, never mind the fact that professional brokers out here have got a whole network of buyers sitting here waiting. Never mind the fact that they can prepare the package and they know how to present it to their buyers, and they know where to find the buyers, and then they know how to handle them and pre-screen them when they do find them. Forget all that. You can do a better job, I'm sure, and save a few pennies while you're doing it. And besides, who needs to be looking for other deals? You probably should spend your time selling this deal because it's the best use of your time. You think? Well, here's how you sell commercial properties. You find good commercial broker, you agree on terms, you sign listing agreement, and let them do what they do best. That's how you sell commercial properties, if you're going to survive. Now, there's some things that we should discuss along that line, like who to hire, how to protect ourselves. But I think first we got to get over this big hurdle. Are we going to let people do what they do best so we can get out of the way and do what we do best? And in fact, I'm just sitting here thinking with Kirk sitting up here, what harm would it do for me to try to have an auction on a property, and if that fails, then list it? Is that a good thing or a bad thing?
You definitely want, if you're going to have a sale, if that you've determined that is your best exit strategy of all the choices you have, it's definitely ideal to have one previous to the property being listed. If the property's been listed and everybody shopped it, and then you go and try to have a sale after that, you've already established the price that it's not worth, and you've already established that nobody up to this point's interested in the property, and people seem to think there's a problem. When you auction a property that's been listed. So if the auction exit strategy is the one you think is the highest and best one to use, it needs to happen previous to it being listed, or you've damaged your sale or killed it.
All right. Well, how about you just taking the time right now and let's go over this auction process and tell us what we need to do and the goods and the bads and the uglies of the auction process if we want to use an auctioneer to sell our property, and when it's the right thing to do and when it's not.
There are a lot of exit strategies we all have for property, and the auction method is one of the exit strategies. It's not the answer to everything by any stretch. It is just one of the methods. If you've got a property that only investors are going to buy for whatever reason, if you've got a property like that, there is no better way than to have an auction and get all the investors there at the same time bidding against each other. Everybody doesn't have inside them what it takes to go to an auction and bid on a property. When you've got people buying a $250,000 home in a neighborhood, the type self-confidence and wherewithal those people have is totally different than somebody buying a $2 million residential home. They've got a lot more enthusiasm. They're a lot more secure. They're the ones that want to go to the country club and brag to their buddies. So when you look at a house that's in that price range, talking residential, which is not why we're here, but when you look at that price range, you've got people who will bid on those big trophy homes and tell their buddies, I took one down at the auction. Now you're trying to sell a $250,000 house. Those people are scared. They don't have the wherewithal. So that doesn't fit as well in that smaller property than it does the large. There are properties that fit really well for auction and ones that don't. When we're talking about selling properties that are bought by committee, in other words, if we're trying to sell commercial property to end users, those end users all buy by committee. They're all going to sit around in a boardroom and they're going to make decisions and they're going to do due diligence and they're going to do all this stuff. And they're not going to sit around and do a bunch of due diligence and all this stuff for the opportunity to go to an auction. They're not going to do it. The only people that are going to buy commercial property from us at sale are developers and speculators and investors and people like that will take the chance because there's money there and we'll sell it at wholesale. So the chance of retailing commercial property to end users, it's tough. They're not going to do that work up front.
So we better be willing to give away a bunch of equity if we put a commercial property on the auction block.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Of course, that's not true for lots because they're going to go to developers who generally pay close to retail price for them anyway.
Right, and that's a different deal. Yeah. Commercial property is probably one of the hardest things there is to sell. It is the hardest thing to sell at auction is commercial dirt because there's no income earning potential. There's no income coming in on that, and you're selling it once again to committee buyers. So you're going to have to sell it at wholesale to a room full of guys like us. It's wholesale. But it is top wholesale, and you get a lot of people a lot of times that are less sophisticated. In the residential world, the most sophisticated people in the residential world, investors, sell at auctions, they don't buy. In the car industry, the most sophisticated, the most successful people in the car business, because they use the auction method, they sell at the auto auction, they don't buy. You get your least sophisticated people that will pay a premium. Even if they're investors, you'll get top wholesale dollar by having a sale.
What about apartment buildings where there's a lot of people now out in the market looking for good cap rate yielding properties, and there's kind of a lot of people circling trying to buy these? Could you get either a very high top wholesale or bordering on retail price, say if you're selling a property with multiple fully leased good yielding apartment blocks on it?
If we can put together a package where we can eliminate their fears on the front end, the phase one's been done, all this stuff's been done, they can verify up front. We have put a due diligence package together for them so that they can feel secure in the bidding process. If we can't put a due diligence package together up on the front end, they're not going to buy it, or they're going to back their numbers way down where it doesn't make sense. So we've got to somehow eliminate, no matter what we're selling, eliminate their fears and let them feel secure in what they're buying. As they feel secure, the price goes up. As they feel less secure, the price goes down. Just like on the nursing home. Your money goes hard right up front. That pushes the price down.
Right. Thank you very much.
So, Kurt, have we learned from this that selling an apartment complex or an office building that's in good condition and operating, not a good thing to do on an auction block?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So what would we take to the auction block besides lots?
Anything that is going to be sold to investors, that is the best way.
Yeah, so in other words, if we're willing to give away a bunch of equity and blow it out quickly, and we're in it cheap, we can take that to the auction block.
Yes, sir.
Have you ever sold an apartment complex that needed turned around and rehabbed and so forth at an auction block?
There was 2 that sold last month.
Really?
Right.
How did that work out? I'm thinking, I buy a property dirt cheap, but I just can't stand the thought of dealing with all these tenants and all this crap I got to go through. I call Kurt. I have him blow it out, and maybe we bake a bunch of money in a hurry and don't kill the grief. Move on to the next one. It's an option, isn't it?
How many people in this room have bought a piece of property and wholesaled it? Raise your hand. Okay. Every property that you bought and you turned around and wholesaled, if we had had an auction, it would have brought more money. You can't get on the phone as a general rule and call up one investor or 2 or 3 or however you've sold it and get the kind of price you can that we can by getting them all together there bidding against each other, no matter what we're selling.
So how does that make you feel? Yeah. Okay. You sold it too cheap. All right. So in other words, if we want to sell something as is, where is, and we bought it cheap enough and we're willing to give away the equity and not do the work, we ought to try an auction. What do we got to lose anyway? Nothing? All right, what do we have to lose? Suppose we have an apartment complex and we got 120 units in it, and I don't know, it's worth $4 million in excellent shape, but it's probably worth $2.5 million like it is, but we got it for 1.6. What do you think? I mean, I know this generic stuff, but what percentage of that after repaired value do you think we're going to get in an auction? I mean, is there some kind of a normal number, or is it just every one of them case by case?
It's all case by case. The number that you can expect to get is top wholesale dollar. Absolutely top wholesale dollar.
What's the process for calling you, having an auction, and getting to the auction and after the auction?
Okay, the process is you either call the office, in which we'll pass out some flyers in a minute, or you get on the website, you go in there and you pull off an auction information sheet, you fill that out, and you email it back to us or fax it back to us. We have the same philosophy in the auction industry and in our company, just like that sign. We're going to auction off properties, and we're going to do that on properties that are absolutely going to work. There's a tremendous amount of money and a tremendous investment in putting a sale together, flying people around the country, and there's not much money there. When you start talking about a 10% commission, that's working for what realtors work for. So we've got to make dadgum sure when we do a sale that it's going to work, and whoever brings us those sales, they're going to have to pay the marketing cost. Somebody's not going to pick up the phone, call our office and say, hey, I've got a building and I want you to come down and I want you to pay all the money, all the marketing expense, all the advertising, and fly your guys all over the country. And if it sells, that's great. And if it doesn't, we appreciate it. Ain't happening. That's not the way it works. When we do a sale, you're going to have a vested interest in this by paying the marketing expense, or we're not your guy. It's got to be done right. When you pay the marketing expense, we've still got a tremendous expense, a tremendous commitment bringing in the people to do it. And so what we've got to do, when those sheets come in on a deal, I've got to evaluate them real quick and find out, do we have a deal or do we all need to pass? Because it's one of those deals we either all win or we all lose. And so we've got to be looking at real numbers. We've got to look at really what the deal is, and we've got to figure out which is the low-hanging fruit that we know when we put our time and money and energy in it, it's going to work. Or there's no reason to do it. We need to pass and go on to something else quickly.
Which means you got to know in your mind that you can sell this property and give away a bunch of equity and still have enough room to get it sold. So in other words, the price that the seller has got to get out of this bottom line has got to make sense. So you can get that or more, or it's a pass.
Exactly.
So, we got a project worth $1 million. Don't bring it to you and expect you to get $900,000 out of it. Or it won't fly.
Well, we can't count on that. It will sell for market value quickly. That's what an auction does, is it sells quickly at market value. And what we've got to determine is, what is the real market value? Not the $8 million appraisal from the owner on a $6 million property. I'm like him, bull. It means nothing. No, we're not going there. And so what we've got to do is we take the same approach that Ron does. And by the way, in our companies, everything we do, company policy, is anything in his manuals, anything he says. That's what we do because it works. And you guys need to do the same thing, whatever that is. But when we have a sale like that, you just got to be careful and make sure right up front that those numbers are real and they're hard, and need to get 2 blind appraisals on those from 2 appraisers who don't know each other, don't know the deal, don't know the numbers, they don't know anything. Go get them to confirm that your numbers are right, and then get a BPO, a broker price opinion, from another guy who doesn't know anybody, doesn't know any numbers, and then you do your own homework. And if those 4 numbers come back, then we know where we're at. And if they don't, we need to pass. And we try to figure this out very, very quickly. We're all busy, and you guys have a lot of stuff to do. So when you send us stuff, I want to figure out very quickly, do we have a deal or not have a deal? I'm doing the same thing in my office, just like he's doing up on the board. Let's figure out where we've got a deal. If we do, let's do it. If we don't, let's don't.
Good enough. Question?
Yeah. Do you have any experience in selling marinas? In my area, there's a lot of those, and they tend to be sort of mismanaged and turnaround projects. So I'm wondering if either you have experience.
I don't. What I'd have to do is get with the staff of guys I've got at the office, and I'm sure that they do.
Okay. Have you ever heard of any good turnaround projects on marinas, Ron, or not looked at any? People bringing you deals. Have you seen any good turnaround projects? Because there's actually a guy in my area who brings these deals to me. Yeah. He finds these rundown marinas and puts them back in service and then sells them.
Well, I got to be partial to marinas as a boat owner.
Right.
Yeah, in fact, I'm trying to buy one in Jacksonville, and I'm going to buy it, too, if I catch this guy at the right time.
Yeah.
If I catch him at the right time. It's just another project, Dave. Just another project. I mean, to me, they all run together. It's just dollars and cents to me.
I was hoping it might be a pattern, like more of a glamorous acquisition by the owner who fell out of love with it. And
a marina's a sexy thing to sell, I would think, wouldn't you?
Yeah. Yeah, you get people that want to own a marina, somebody like that wants to own a golf course.
Yeah, that's what I would be thinking.
Yeah, both of them got no sense.
Right.
But you can feel good and tell all your buddies, you own the golf course. I own this bar.
Yeah, actually, marinas do make money. Golf courses do not.
Yeah.
Most of them. Some of them do.
Where I live, there's a marina that's been up for sale for about a year or two, and what they need to do is dredge out a lot of the silt, and that's killing that marina.
Yeah.
So that's something that you need to be aware
but
of.
Don't forget, when you got a marina, you got all kinds of agencies involved. And if that's okay, that's part of the game. You got agencies involved in everything. In fact, hey, I got something. Are you through, Dave?
Yeah, the only other thing I was going to say is it seems to me like they have a lot of potential profit centers. These people with boats have disposable income, and they'll pay for wireless internet. They'll pay for, marked up goodies.
Marinas have in fact, they're even selling boat slips now, like condos. You buy your boat slip.
Thanks.
Let me read you this. You get a kick out of this. In the year 2005, the Lord came unto Noah, who was now living in the United States, and said, "Once again, the earth has become wicked and overpopulated, and I see the end of all flesh before me. Build another ark and save 2 of every living thing along with a few good humans." He gave Noah the blueprint, saying, "You have 6 months to build the ark, before I'll start the unending rain for 40 days and 40 nights. 6 months later, the Lord looked down and saw Noah weeping in his yard, but no ark. "Noah," he moaned, "I'm about to start the rain. Where's the ark?" "Forgive me, Lord," begged Noah, "but things have changed. I needed a building permit. I've been arguing with the inspector about the need for a sprinkler system. My neighbors claim that I violated the neighborhood zoning laws by building the ark in my yard and exceeding the height limitations. We had to go to the Development Appeal Board for a decision. Then the Department of Transportation demanded a bond be posted for the future cost of moving the power lines and other overhead obstructions to clear the passage for the ark's move to the sea. I argued that the sea would be coming to us, but they wouldn't hear anything of it. The getting the wood was another problem. There's a ban on cutting local trees in order to save the spotted owl. I tried to convince the environmentals that I needed the wood to save the owls, but no go. When I started gathering the animals, I got sued by all animal rights groups. They insisted that I was confining wild animals against their will. As well, they argued the accommodation was too restrictive and it was cruel and inhumane to put so many animals in a confined space. Then the EPA ruled that I couldn't build the ark until they conducted an environmental impact study on your proposed flood. I'm still trying to receive a compliant with the Human Rights Commission on how many minorities I'm supposed to hire for my building crew. Also, the Tracy's union say I can't use my sons. They insist I have to hire only union workers with ARC building experience. To make matters worse, the IRS seized all my assets, claiming I'm trying to leave the country illegally with endangered species. So forgive me, Lord, but it would take at least 10 years for me to finish the ark. Suddenly the skies cleared, the sun began to shine, and a rainbow stretched across the sky. Noah looked up in wonder and asked, "You mean you're not going to destroy the world?" "No," said the Lord, "the government beat me to it." It was cute.